Welcome back, and let's go ahead and take a look at doing some sketches in Inventor. Remember that sketching is one of the most important things that you can do or learn in this program, as it's going to set up the basis or the foundation for every kind of part that you're going to have to create. So as discussed before in some of the other videos, you have seen that I have did a sketch on this one, and this one, and we're going to take a look at doing this one in this video. As you can see that the units are in millimeters, so that's one of the key things to start off in Inventor with, is the understanding what units you're going to be using. This has a whole bunch of arcs and fillets and things of that nature. So you're going to see that this is quite different from your 2D programs, in that I can go ahead and kind of sketch this out and start putting those radii in there, and then I'll start locking the distances. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to overall start with this shape. And then I'll go ahead and start doing some radiuses and stretching things out as I need them. Okay, and in opening up Inventor, I'm just going to go ahead and start going to my part, or create a new part. Remember that I want to specify what units that I'm going to use. And once again, I do have my project selected already. So if you don't know how I quite did that, or assigned all of my drawings to go to the certain place, you can go back and look at my video on setting up Inventor. So let's go ahead and specify that we want to use millimeters for this drawing. So I'm just going to select this new icon, and remember with these toolbars, if I can read the words underneath, that's what the toolbar is going to do. So I'll go ahead and select new, and then I'll give it a second, and then the dialog box will appear. Here I see that I have a metric already selected, and I'm going to use standard millimeter IPT. Let's go ahead and select the create button. And then we're going to give Inventor a little time to load all of its programs and things that it's going to need to help us expedite this. Once you're fully loaded, you're ready to go. Let's go ahead and jump right into a 2D sketch. Once again, I can read the word Start 2D Sketch here at the bottom, so I'm just going to select the icon at the top. Next, I have to select a plane that I want to create this one on. And the last ones we've been doing is the XY plane. Let's go ahead and take a look at this XZ plane. So I'm going to select this one. And you can see that the word top comes in sideways. I'm just going to straighten it back up with this little rotation arrow until the words read normally how I want it to read. Okay, so now that I'm creating this, and once again it's going to be millimeters, I can see from my drawing that I have some overall dimensions, which are going to be this 60, the 75, and I'm going to also kind of see if I can use this 45 angle, which is kind of important. That's going to help me create this shape somewhat. So I'm just going to create my shape, and I'm going to try to get as close as, and remember with this program, don't try to be accurate, although you can type in those numbers in there. But I don't want to lock down a number. The only one that I probably can lock down is the 75, but the 60 we can't. Okay, so now we're in the sketch icon. We're looking at our ribbon, and it is to our 2D sketching. Let's start with a line. I'm going to click here, and once again I'm going to go down, and you can see that I got a vertical constraint that's being applied to this line, and I just want to get it close to 75. I can even make that about 80, so just somewhere in the general vicinity of that. I'll click here. Next I want to go over about 60, so I'm just going to go a little bit past that and making sure I lock the perpendicular. This angle, it doesn't really matter which one you put it at, but I can type in 135 for my angle. And it looks like I actually typed that in for the distance. Let me go back and do that again. So I'm going to come with the line, click at that end point, and what I was meaning to do is hit the tab button to jump over to the angle, and then type in 135. Enter. And now I just want to make this come kind of back to this area. So I can go ahead and apply and put this line right on that end point. And you'll see that I don't have a horizontal constraint being applied to this, but I'll go ahead and add that with one of the manual constraints at the top. So I'm just going to go ahead and select this line, that end point, click there, and then I'll go to escape. Okay. So far some of the things that we have applied here is that we do have just that angle, and these lines are roughly what they need to be. Let's go ahead and take a look at a fillet. I'm going to type in the radius, which is 25, and once again, try not to hit enter after you type that number in. Just go ahead and select the two lines that you want to make the arc with. Let's change this to 20, and then I will go ahead and put the radius, which is located here. 30. That's going to be the rotation here, or I'm sorry, the fillet here. And then finally I have a 15, which is going to be here at the top. Okay, now remember that I had this line in here and it's not quite horizontal, but I'm just going to make sure that it is. I'll select the horizontal constraint. And once again, I always like to hover over that line first, just to make sure that I'm getting those dotted lines going the direction that I want. And I'll go ahead and select that line. So it's telling me here with this error is that this is going to over constrain it, which means that that line was indeed horizontal. Although I didn't get the icon, it was. So my line is horizontal, so I don't have to worry about it. I'll hit the cancel. If yours went ahead and did this, then that means your line was not horizontal. Okay, so now we have our radii on here. Let's go ahead and put the dimensions. So let's go a dimension from this line down to this line, and we want that to be 75. Next, we got to go a dimension from this line to this center. So go ahead and select that center point, click here, and I'm going to place that dimension at 60. Okay, so our part is fully constrained, but I look down here at the lower right corner, and you can see that I need 2 more dimensions. So what that does is, or what it's asking me for is, in reference to this center origin, where do I want to put this at? So I'm just going to add a dimension from this line to here, and then I can put in a number, and for our example, let's go ahead and make it 10. But I wanted to show you something a little different on this one. I want to put it exactly where it's right in the middle of this. Okay, so let's go ahead and delete that dimension. So I'm just going to select it. Well, first I'll escape out of the dimension command, and I'll select it and just hit delete on my keyboard. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a dimension from this line to the tangent of this arc. So I'm going to go dimension, select this line first, and then once I come closer to this one, you can see my icon change to that little symbol with the circle in the dimension. Once you get that, do a left click, come up and place it, and it should kick us an error message that's saying, hey, this is going to overextrain it. Do you want this to happen? Well, in this case, I do. And you're going to see that I get 2 reference parentheses around my dimension. That's a good thing. It's just saying that that dimension is not driving anything, but it's there as a reference. Okay, so now what I can use this for is when I go and place a dimension from this line to my center, and I place this dimension, now I can use my reference dimension by selecting it here and dividing it by 2. So now this part is directly in the middle of this. The second one is the 75, which I can cut in half. I don't have to make a reference dimension. So if I just do a dimension from this line to my center origin, I'll place that dimension. I'll select this dimension that I want to reference and divide it by 2. So now my part is fully centered about this center axis. That's really important on some applications, especially when you go to create parts and when you're constraining. So it's a very good practice to at least use those center lines or putting it in the center origin. And I'll show you kind of a little bit of the reasoning behind it is that whenever we create a part, remember that these origin planes are going to run directly in the middle of my part. So that's one of the reasons why sometimes that you want to have your parts directly in the center. You're going to see that when we come to constraining and doing other things of that nature, we can actually use those planes as references in our constraints, and it'll make our life a lot easier, especially when we want to get to the center of that part. Okay? So I want to thank you for watching this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it and learned a little something about centered and referencing, and I will see you in the next video. Once again, thank you.